All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Discovering Multifamily podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Scandariato, here with Red Knight Properties. And today we have an interesting guest here with us, Mason McDonald, who's an entrepreneur with background in healthcare administration and, lots of experience in real estate investing, particularly in land acquisitions. He also invests a lot in multifamily or commercial real estate, his, passive income and he was in healthcare and he was able to leave that career, which we're going to discuss why he left and why he pursued real estate investing. And like I said, he specifically focused on land flipping and want to understand what type of land he's looking for and maybe his first deal, share some experience with that to give some motivation to our audience. So thanks for coming on, Mason.
Yeah, Anthony, it's great to be here.
Awesome. So yeah, tell me about what happened. I know you were, at a healthcare facility. So like what, I guess you didn't want to pursue that career.
Yeah. So I worked my way to the top relatively rapidly. Worked for a large hospital management company. Was always on the traditional route. Did the undergrad, did the master's degree, worked in healthcare, became the CEO of a hospital here in Colorado Springs at 26 years old. So, you look at it from the outside and you're like, oh crap, this guy made it to the top. He's hit the pinnacle of his career, but I wasn't happy. The money was fine. But I was working 100 hours a week and I was hypertensive stage 2 and always wanted to get involved in investing in real estate. My dad owns commercial real estate, so I always kind of saw, what passive income can do for you. But I'd saved up my money, and I can dive right into my first deal, if you're
Sure.
ready. Yeah, so I'd saved up money and was going to actually invest in a syndication for a townhome development. You know, as a hospital CEO, I did not have the time to do any sort of active investing. So saw this passive opportunity. The guy that was raising the money for it, he told me about land flipping, and I was like, and he was explaining how he was making 60, 70 grand a month just off notes from owner financing. And I was like, oh, well, that's more money than I'm going to make, on this syndication deal that we're doing. So got involved. November of 2021, purchased my first deal and quit my job in January of 2022 because I made 114 grand on my first land flip and, didn't look back since then.
Nice. So can you talk about that first flip, that first experience?
Yeah. I bought 7.5 acres. It was 3 parcels in southern Colorado. I paid right about 40 grand for all 3 of them. And that was actually on my 27th birthday that I bought it. I closed on it. My wife and I were going on vacation, and kind of while I was on vacation, I thought that I knew the land was worth more than I paid for it, obviously, but I didn't quite know how much. And then I saw that one of the parcels just south of mine sold for 155,000 the previous month. So I kind of recognized what I had, which is why I ended up quitting my job whenever I got back from vacation. And we, my agent and I put it on the market for 200,000. We got an offer, within a few days for 185,000. So, after all costs and everything, made 114 grand, which to me, it was surprising. You hear about land flipping, which there's more of us that are doing it now. So it's kind of becoming a sexy niche within real estate, but it feels like everyone in land investing is trying to sell snake oil or something. There's no way it can be that easy. And that first deal kind of proved the case to me and allowed me to, venture on, more into it. And, being able to use land investing as an active income generator to invest your profits into appreciating and depreciable assets is kind of my strategy and how I've stumbled into multifamily for the most part to get my first multifamily deal, which was, summer of last year.
Yeah, talk about that multifamily deal and how you're using your active income. Even though you're in real estate, you still have other diversified income sources. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was actually a pocket listing that my agent who sold that first land deal gave to me. His former broker owned the piece of land or the property. It's about a 4,300 square foot mixed use commercial building. We're still renovating it now. It's in a small ski town in southern Colorado. So what's needed in these small mountain towns, specifically in Colorado, and you can kind of see it throughout the country. You hear about Jackson Hole and you hear about Aspen, how unaffordable housing is. They need workforce housing. So we're converting it into a rent by the room model for workforce housing. We bought the deal for $450,000. The owner is carrying the note currently at 5% interest, which is ideal. Amortized over 30 years. It's a 5-year note. So the money's cheap, and I mean free. With inflation, what current rates are. We're still renovating it right now, but all in all, gross revenue after probably $150,000 of rehab on this $450,000 building with this rent by the room affordable housing model, we'll bring in about $10,000 a month gross. So $4 or $5,000 a month passively, and so it's a fun strategy where you're able to add value to the property and convert it, make it nicer and everything like that, but target a particular audience that's more comfortable with a shared living space. Still 2/3 of what the median 1-bedroom rent is in that town, and help a community, and you get all the benefits of the depreciation, which we'll do a cost seg study this year. Take advantage of the 80% bonus depreciation and everything, and it's nice because then it can offset the income that I'm making from the land business.
Got it. Yeah. So that venture to me sounds a little more active. Or do you have a partner on that?
I do have a partner. So the guy
good.
that taught me land flipping, him and I are 50-50 partners in the deal. It's a small town, so things move a lot slower there, which is why the rehab's still happening. They don't work that much during ski season or during not ski season if the weather's too good or the weather's not good. So learning a lot from that, but trying to be as hands-off as possible to turn that into a repeatable process, because affordable housing is necessary everywhere, especially in Colorado and these mountain towns where you can, put people on 3-month leases that are working at ski resorts or, whitewater rafting or whatever it might be.
Now, do you do any work in healthcare still, or is you said this is full time? Do you do any consulting on the side, or?
Not in healthcare anymore. I've got friends that, ask me business questions and stuff, just from, previous connections in the executive world. But no, I think in terms of coaching and consulting and, working, I teach people how to flip land. I work with people that are mostly in healthcare, a majority of my clients, where they saw my path of, from grad student to executive in a handful of years, and see me, quasi-retired now. So, it's attractive to a lot of people that are hospital administrators. So I teach people how to flip land. But that's about it from the consulting world.
And what markets do you focus on for the land flipping business? Obviously Colorado. Are there any others?
Yeah, we just got started in Arizona. So, I've been growing and scaling a lot, in the business. I have a full-time acquisition manager, salary plus commission. So we're in Colorado and Arizona. And then, in terms of expansion, we look where people are moving. People are moving to Florida, people are moving to the Carolinas, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, obviously, where you can look at net migration patterns that the census gives you. So we target land there. And there's tons of opportunities, in multifamily in the land space too, where, the strategy is you buy land cheap and you sell it for more, where we've got a property. After this podcast, I'm sending the wire to close on it. We're paying $150,000 for it. We're putting it on the market for $450,000. Should be a 2-month return, which, it's the only multifamily lot in, Garfield County, Colorado, that's going to be hitting the market. So, a developer is able to come in and, we could price that way higher, but it'll move quicker. So, it's where people are moving, where people are developing. There's an inventory shortage for, single family and multifamily homes, throughout the country. So kind of targeting those areas.
And so, like, for that deal, as an example, how did you find that site?
I sent a postcard. I sent 10,000 postcards, in right when property tax bills were coming, this spring. Had a little calculator on it, and it said, "Are you tired of paying property taxes on your unused vacant land in Colorado?" And he gave a call back and said, "Heck yeah, I am." And we came to an agreement on the deal. And I actually, I don't use my own cash in any deals. I just joint venture with people. So the investor on this deal, where he's taking, I think, 30 or 35% of the profit of the deal and fronting all the cash. He's in the multifamily syndication space. but he sees that return on equity multiplier and how quick that is, compared to, potentially a 2, 3, 5, 10-year exit where, he's not doubling his money, but he's, making 30, 40% at least on his money, in a 2-month period of time. So it's really attractive to the people in the multifamily, recognizing, oh shoot, like, I've got this opportunity to invest in something that is a scarce resource, but I can get my money back a lot quicker, and then I can put it into another syndication down the road, or just keep investing with, the land flippers like me.
Yeah,
But
sure. That's interesting. So you mentioned you generally, to find your end buyer, you have joint venture partners that maybe have relationships with on the ground realtors, and you mentioned you listed that with a real estate agent, or you're going to.
yeah.
So is that for your connections, or just
Yeah. So for me, the end buyer, a lot of people ask who your buyer is, and I can't quite answer because I don't know. What I do is I partner with local realtors in whatever market I'm investing in. I offer a competitive commission because land is typically a lower dollar amount than single family homes. So offer them a competitive commission, make sure our listing looks better than everyone else's. But I just go on Zillow or Redfin and see, in the last, 14 or 30 days, who's selling the most land, and contact them. And so some of it has come from referrals from agents I've worked with in the past, if they know people in particular markets. But in general, I look at who's producing, and then I, target them, and they're happy because they get, a more competitive commission. So it varies, but usually.
is that the same realtor you use to flip your first deal?
No, he's local to that particular market. So I've got like dozen plus realtors that I work with. So, for all the realtors that are listening, if there was an easy way to like nationalize this model of being able to pass it off to one particular brokerage that specialized in land, that'd be a cool opportunity that I'd be interested in, partnering with. So, because it's disorganized, trying to find the right person in the right market all the time.
Yeah. And how much of this business is a volume game?
So it varies. Where I particularly target a lot of the larger deals that take a little bit more time to sell, where I've got a handful on the market where there's 6-figure profit spreads for me with no cash in the deal. Those take longer. But I also have the smaller deals, the 5, 10, 15, 20K profit deals that can turn around in 30 days from acquisition to close on the sales side. So it's building out both models where I'm a simple, like I compartmentalize the way I think, and the way I look at money, where it's like, okay, it costs X number of dollars to run the business every month. I should have that many notes paying me, say it costs 10 grand to run this business a month. If I can sell enough properties to have 10 grand a month coming in passively from my notes, then that covers that. And then I can have, active generating and, revenue from the small deals, and then have the big deals that are always kind of in the pipeline that just take a little bit longer. So, it varies, and it's however, tons of people, do it in a lot of different approaches. What I think you hear the most often is the desert square approaches, where you buy a piece of land for $250 and you self-close without a title company, and you sell it for $1,200. If you're trying to make, 1.5, 2 million flipping land, like I'm working on, that it's just not sustainable to do that. So you need a handful of those 6-figure deals to lump in there.
Absolutely. And you said you have been utilizing partners to close on the land acquisitions, and then you're splitting the profits. So you're not wholesaling the land, you're not just assigning the contract, you're actually owning the property, and then you're doing what you need to do with it on the exit.
Oh yeah. Where I've never wholesaled anything. I've sold to neighbors myself, but my strategy is buy cheap, sell for more, and utilize a realtor to sell for more. And I started by using all my own cash. And then I very quickly felt I was tired of the entrepreneurial life cycle of I would buy a bunch and I'd feel really poor. And then I would sell a bunch and I'd feel really rich. And I kept doing that over and over again. So I don't use any of my own money, and investors are ecstatic too. I had a deal recently where It was a 65-35 split, 35 to them, and their cash on cash return was 64% or something like that in 70 days. So investors are ecstatic to work with me with some of these returns. But yeah, I just partner with people on all these deals to make it easier. Never wholesale anything.
And so when you sell the property, in the meantime, obviously the property, you're paying property taxes, you're paying insurance, you're paying any other carry costs, maybe landscaping, until, you find that end buyer. And obviously that's cyclical, how long it could take and whatnot. For the investors listening for something like this, you're not really getting distributions, I would assume, until there's, a liquidity event. So
Yeah.
how does that look like, in the meantime from upon acquisition to exit for the investors?
Yeah, absolutely. So it varies. I've got people that have invested with me that just park their money with me, and I pay them, interest, like a small business loan from the three F's: friends, families, and fools. And but for the partnership deals, it varies on how we structure it. Where I've got some deals where if the property doesn't sell after X number of months or a year or something like that, I'll just transfer title over to the person, because I'm utilizing, like, it's an interesting document my attorney structured for me, where it's basically an unsecured promissory note backed by land with profit split. So, that just means I'm able to, use cash in the deal. I keep my name on the title of the deal. It's easier for my accountant at the end of the year. But I haven't run into that issue yet of, a property not being able to sell or anything like that. But, I've also done it where, I guarantee of, like, okay, if the property doesn't sell after 12 months, I'll return your investment plus interest, into it. Or we can vary the profit splits, where, the way I operate is we do all the loan agreements and everything. I kind of put it together however it makes sense to structure the deal. And then we operate as if we did a handshake deal. So my investors are always happy because, they're getting a ton of money back. But, it's better than, having it sit in a savings account, not making any money, where if it takes 6-9 months and you get, 40-50% return on your money, it's pretty happy, and you don't have to worry about anything. Obviously if the property doesn't sell, that sucks for me, but not for my investors.
Yeah. And so when you're setting this up, and like you said, the property doesn't sell, so you have mechanisms to have safeguards in place, to prevent default. I mean, there's really no default because you guys are owning the land. It's just, if it takes longer to sell, then you just have to have those expectations aligned, which I'm sure you're pretty upfront with all your partners and pretty straightforward.
100%. Where, that's what most people do, especially after they do a deal with me, is, it's like, okay, let's not put those, optional provisions into the contract. Let's just reassess the deal where, instead of it being a 65-35 profit split, let's make it 50-50 or, 20-80 or, whatever, where, that's the beautiful thing about land is there's such minimal competition. And, I'm giving up a ton of money. I was looking at it where, once the deals that we have under contract and are listed and everything, I'm giving up, or I don't view it as giving up because I didn't put the cash in, but about $350,000 in profit splits over just a handful of deals. Which is very expensive. That's a very expensive lending. If it was an actual loan, it'd be usury rates. And, the reason I accept these, financing terms or JV terms is there's not access to institutional capital for what we're doing, which is why the competition is so minimal, where if you don't have a ton of cash or have a network that has a ton of cash, you're going to run out of money doing this. There's 157 million parcels of land in the United States. A lot of them are owned by people that don't want them, that would be happy to get rid of it at a discount. Especially right now, while, it's expensive. My wife and I go to Chick-fil-A and it costs $30 for two people. Like, the average American is not doing well right now. And if they own an unused piece of land, they'll often give it away, at a cheap price.
How do you mitigate tax implications? So, you mentioned a lot of these, or a couple of them have sold within, a little bit less than a year. I mean, then you're getting hit with short-term capital gains tax. Is that correct or no?
No, not for land. Land is taxed as inventory.
Okay.
So it's, if you do your correct entity structuring of, I've got an S corp where, I just have to pay myself a fair and reasonable salary. And then I can take that and reinvest it right back into the business. But yeah, you don't pay capital gains taxes on land, and not an attorney or a CPA or anything, but that's what my attorney and CPA have told me. So you're not hit with those tax implications, which is why it's great to have, for me, land flipping is a great active business replacement. It's, compared to what I was doing. So, and then you put that into, your long-term hold stuff that you plan on holding for forever. But yeah, so that's really attractive to investors too, is, you're just getting profit distributions, or, a 1099 INT if you're giving me, interest loans as versus that. So.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Well, that was an awesome show. How does my audience reach out to you, connect with you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you look up, Mason McDonald on LinkedIn, Mason McDonald, Colorado Springs, you can find me there. I also, I do coach current active business owners or successful executives in getting started in land flipping. So coachingwithmason.com, and you can submit your information there, whether you're interested in, coaching on starting a business, consulting on your current business, specifically within the land space, or just, potentially partnering with me and funding a deal. Either of those are easy ways to get a hold of me.
Great. And we'll have a link to Mason's website as well as his LinkedIn/social media pages in our iTunes description and on social media as well. So you can feel free to reach out to him. And really want to thank you for coming on again. And for the audience, if you liked what you heard and or saw today, please give us a rating and review on iTunes. It would help the algorithm get our message out to a greater audience. So really appreciate that. And thanks again for coming on, Mason.
Awesome, Anthony. It was great to be here.